Harry's wife. You are losing. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. We've had a lot of the Sussexes just recently. They're around a lot to begin with, but it's almost at saturation level. We've had the 6 hours of nonsense on Netflix. This has been followed with Live to Lead. And now, of course, Harry has been rolled out to bookend his forthcoming publication, Spare, with a pair of interviews, one in the States and one in the United Kingdom, teaser trailers for both of which have already landed. But how is it going? How are the gruesome twosome doing with regard to their party political broadcasts in terms of seeking to sway public opinion and get their side of the story out there? Are they succeeding? Are people going, do you know what? I misjudged these two. I thought he was a playboy prince and then basically had turned into a bit of a brat. But I have a lot of sympathy for him now. I can see it's tough being him, and all he's ever wanted to do is protect his wife, and he's been roundly treated like a turd by the royal family. Huzzah for Harry! And are people looking at Harry's wife thinking, do you know something? I thought that she was a grifting, self-obsessed, gold-digging, social-climbing narcissist. But now, as a consequence of their party political broadcasts on the part of the House of Sussex, I now am convinced. I realise that, actual fact, I completely misjudged this lady. I thought that her pregnancies were fake. I realise now that they were not. I thought that everything that she did was something that was done to perpetuate her own self-interest. I realise now that she's one of the most altruistic people on the planet. She's been hounded, hurt and harried by unpleasant people. And all she's ever seeking to do was live her best life. Oh, God. Makes me feel so ill even saying that. I now realise that it was unfair to gauge her in such terms, and that she actually is a living saint. Has that been the conclusion? Is that what's been seen? Well, of course, as always, the sugar lumps are out in vocal force, if not necessarily numbers, which appear to be dwindling. But a perusal of matters suggests that they are not succeeding at all, and they're losing. Take, for example, the 60 minutes teaser trailer that came out. I, at a loose end whilst I was waiting for something, had a good scroll through the comments for some 20 minutes. In the course of doing so, and I can read quickly, I didn't see any supportive comments of the 1,200 or so at that juncture which had appeared. They took the piss out of him, mentioned how tired they were of the Sussexes, how sick and tired of their whinging and whining. And therefore, the teaser trailer certainly didn't win any friends, nor did it influence any people. An article in PJ Media, written by Chris Queen, tells us Prince Harry wants to have it both ways when it comes to the royal family and the media. Whilst I read this article to you, you'll also see a variety of headlines showing the reaction to the Prince Harry teaser trailers from a variety of newspapers around the world, including the Daily Mail, the Express, the Telegraph, the Sun, the Daily Star, quality, and Metro in the United Kingdom, the New York Post and the Washington Post in the United States, and the Melbourne Age, Canberra Times and Sydney Morning Herald from good old Australia. You can get the flavour of what the newspapers are saying, and they're pretty representative of other publications around the world in terms of the reactions and views that are being put forward as a consequence of what Harry has been doing. In the PJ Media article, it states, there are a couple of episodes in the current season of The Crown that deal with the interview Princess Diana, Princess of Wales, gave with Martin Bashir of the BBC in 1995. One scene that caught my attention was a discussion leading into the interview, where Bashir and his producer discussed convincing Diana to speak to the BBC. The producer asked why Diana wouldn't go to an American outlet or one of the non-government British networks, and Bashir replies that the BBC is trustworthy. Her son, Prince Harry, is set to do an interview of his own, and he's taking a different tack. Instead of speaking to someone with BBC News, Harry has gone to competitor ITV for an interview that will air next Sunday, 2 days before Harry's tell-all book Spare releases to the public. Interestingly enough, the prince who wanted out of the royal duties so that he could avoid the media is also doing an interview with Anderson Cooper on 60 Minutes this Sunday. Go figure. ITV released a preview of its conversation between Harry and interviewer Tom Bradby, and it shows how the Prince wants to have it both ways. He wants to be able to trash the royal family while maintaining relationships within that family, evidencing, of course, the hypocrisy that has been cultivated with him as a consequence of his own narcissistic behaviours. He has narcissistic traits, which, of course, have been brought to the forefront by whom? The manipulative wiles of his wife. It never needed to be this way, he told Bradby. The leaking, the planting. I want a family, not an institution. They've shown absolutely no willingness to reconcile, he said, referring to the royal family. I'd like to get my father back. I'd like to have my brother back. Harry and his wife, Harry's wife, officially known as the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, stepped down from royal duties in March 2020, saying they wanted to forge new lives in the United States, away from media harassment, reports Reuters. The funny thing is that while trying to avoid the media, Harry and Harry's wife both have proven that they're not shy about giving interviews. Hypocrisy. They've chosen to pal around with Oprah on multiple occasions. They partnered with Netflix to produce a docuseries about themselves that selectively edited a speech from Queen Elizabeth II to make her sound racist. And then there are Harry's dual interviews on either side of the Atlantic coming up Sunday. Granted, the British tabloid media is a cruel behemoth that makes the US media look tame by comparison. And as PJ Media's own Paula Bolliard put it last week, we can't fault Harry for protecting his family from that UK media monster. The problem with all of that is that Harry and Harry's wife don't want to leave the media spotlight completely, especially when they can control the coverage. Assertion of control, nullification of threat to control. It's admirable of Harry to want to pursue reconciliation with King Charles III and Prince William. He's not actually, but can he do it while constantly trashing the family business? The London tabloid The Sun claims that Harry's book isn't going to help. The Sun claims that Spare is set to go further than his £80 million Netflix docuseries and give a detailed blow-by-blow account of their falling out. Reports that William has barely spoken to his younger brother in about 3 years. Harry needs to understand how selfish it is for him and Harry's wife to want it both ways. They can't hide behind more privacy, only when it's convenient. And Harry can't whine about his dad and brother not speaking to him while he trashes the royal family. But if there's one thing we know about Harry, is that he won't stop trying to straddle the fence with both the royals and the media. Of course, he's been led by the nose by his wife, adopting the hypocrisy and facing both ways at once stance of the narcissist. The fact is, their media saturation is not working. More and more people are reinforced in their views about their dislike for the pair of them. And the problem that they've got is this, that people are sick and tired of them, so that their default setting has become that no matter what they say, it's viewed with suspicion. It's seen through a lens of, oh, it's these two again, this is going to be more whinging and whining. And indeed, people will start to lose objectivity. That there might be instances where Harry actually says something that's right and fair, but it'll be lost. Why? It'll be lost because he's just spewed a diet of whinging and moaning, egged on by his wife, so that this is the problem. And this is something that mid-range narcissists regularly have as an issue, as a collateral consequence. They spend so much time moaning and whinging and pity-playing and being the victim that when they have a legitimate complaint, and narcissists can have legitimate complaints, they end up being viewed with suspicion because of all of the crying wolf that has gone on around it. And that's where Harry and Harry's wife find themselves at the moment. The more they try to convince the world that they're victims, the more that they try to convince the world that they are the ones that are hard done to, the more that they try to convince the world that they've been decent and everybody else has been horrible to them, the harder it gets for anyone to take them seriously. The more they complain, the less they're believed. The more that they're whinged, the more that they despise. And all of this leads to this. They are losing. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.